Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Sword Art Online 2 episode review. This one's going to be for episode 3, Memories of Fresh Blood. And yeah, this is a really good episode. I think it's definitely the best of the season so far. And it's really the episode where I think this arc gets just really interesting because you finally know a bit more about Xenon Asada as a character, and so you do kind of care about her now in terms of what her arc is going to be over the course of this arc, in addition to what Kirito is going to be doing with Death Gun. And especially with the end scene kind of leading you to believe that Xenon is the next target of Death Gun. It suddenly brings everything together, and you understand why they're focusing on Xenon so much, and how eventually Kirito and her are going to have to kind of team up. So some really nice setup in this episode, but I think what makes the episode so good is that you get the backstory for Asada and why she's afraid of guns, as was kind of hinted at in the first episode, but you couldn't be quite sure if that was the case. This episode makes it very clear that that is the case. So yeah, you just see her kind of walking home from school, and some bullies basically force her into an alleyway and want her to give them money so they can get home because they spent all their money. And you kind of see that at a base level she's kind of strong as a character, in that she refuses and is just kind of willing to walk it off, even though it's kind of 3-on-1 and she's willing to just walk by. But then you see the kind of main head bully just do the gun finger, and she immediately freaks out, and it confirms to you straight away she is afraid of guns in the real world. And you start asking a lot of questions in your head when you see this, because okay, it's clear that she is Xenon and she's playing a game with guns. What's going on here? Why is she afraid of guns if she plays a game all about them? So obviously it's really badly affecting her in that she nearly gets sick on the street there, and only the arrival of Shinkawa, basically lying about the police coming, scares them off and saves her. And you know, from there, it's basically just you get that these two are friends, Shinkawa and Asada. And I immediately thought, upon the introduction of Shinkawa, especially the first time I watched this, that oh, this is kind of going to be the Recon for this book. He's just going to be the kind of love interest character that they're not really going to go anywhere with. But boy, I couldn't have been more wrong about him as a character, given that what happens towards the end of this arc. But just straight away interesting. You see how supportive he is. You can definitely see that he likes her, and she doesn't quite see him in that way, but she doesn't feel like he's kind of coming on overly strong. She just is happy that she has someone who will kind of help support her and stuff like that. And it's just, you get this really interesting idea that she is really good at the game, whereas he who introduced her to the game is kind of struggling a bit. He's been taking the advice from all of these pro players and is not happy with his build in the game because he's been listening to these guys. And you can sort of see, like, I completely missed all these hints when I watched it for the first time, and I was really shocked when the reveal about him came towards the end of the season. But you can really see early on these little hints that it makes sense. He has a motive to be the one to take out, like, Zexseed and these other pro players who are like suggesting different strength builds, agility builds, and stuff like that. So you see that there, but nothing instantly screams this guy is going to basically be a serial killer. But and to the point where I was just kind of like, I wouldn't mind it if these two got together as a couple at the end. He seems very supportive of her, kind of exactly what she needs, but then obviously his character very much changes as the episodes progress. But you just see how passionate she is about the game, and then the main gist, I think the best part of the episode is the flashback. And I like that they do that moment where she comes home, and before she starts to play the game, she just basically reflects on what happened, that she's really afraid of guns, and she just kind of opens her drawer, takes out this kind of model gun, it doesn't really look anything like a real gun. It's just in the shape. It's clearly a gun, but it's kind of like a sci-fi gun. The best way I could describe it is it looks like a Gundam pistol kind of type gun, and she just picks it up and she seems to be doing okay, but then just kind of blood rushes to her head. She just begins to remember some stuff, has these little flashes, visions of her past, and then she immediately freaks out, is on the verge of getting sick. And at this point, we get the flashback. I thought it was kind of really interesting kind of transition where like she calmly tells us the story of what happened in the middle of a panic attack, which was really interesting. But yeah, really good backstory. It's something that the show hasn't really done up to now. Like we kind of got a Sugaha Kazuto backstory last arc, but it wasn't anything crazy in depth. It was just about what happened with the family and why where the rift came from and stuff like that. In this case, it is a full on explanation of like a super important key event in Asuda's life and how that uh, affects her now, explaining the fear of guns. And it's a really kind of dark, violent, heavy scene. You know, Sword Art Online overall has been one of those kind of animes you're just like, okay, it's good, but I don't think they're doing anything that like a Western animation like really just couldn't do flat out. Maybe it's a little bit fan servicey. A lot of the Western maybe TV channels wouldn't really like that, but this is definitely one of those things where like, no, you would never see this in a Western animation. This is something only anime seem to be able to do. Just the how violent the scene is. Just this crazed gunman comes in, kills one of the bank employees, is threatening Asuda's mother, threatening another bank employee and other people in the room. And you just have this like 11-year-old, I think, at this point in time, Asuda there kind of not knowing what to do and just reacts in the only way she kind of knows how, and that is by kind of defending, doing anything she can to basically attack this gunman while everyone else is like frozen with fear. You can sort of see that it's the fact that she is so young is kind of the reason that she actually acts like this and actually fights back. She doesn't, I suppose she doesn't really understand that she needs to be afraid in this situation. And yeah, because this guy is kind of so kind of all over the place, just this one incident happening here, this little girl kind of coming at him, biting his hand, causes him to drop the gun. She picks it up, little scuffle, and the gun goes off, and basically she shoots him in the stomach, and then he doesn't go down from this because obviously he's crazy, he's not feeling pain as much as he should be, and she just shoots him again, and then shoots him in the head. And it's not like it's just suddenly revealed that she's this expert marksman in real life or anything like that. It's just she reacted through fear and just instinct and shot this guy. And for her, all she sees is the fact that she killed a man and the fact that she was involved in this incident where someone else was shot as well. This guy killed someone before she killed him. And it's this interesting idea that she doesn't react when it first happens, when the incident is first over. It takes her kind of looking at her mother and her mother's shocked reaction upon seeing what her daughter has just done. And then she looks down and sees the gun, kind of after just being fired, sees the blood on the floor, sees what she's just done to this guy, and that's what causes the incident. That's the image that will always be kind of like seared into her mind. And we immediately cut away from that into the present day, and she kind of just explains that she's been afraid of guns ever since this moment, and she has panic attacks every time she sees a picture or even just someone doing that. And it's a really interesting kind of character issue to deal with. And they explain that the reason she plays Gun Gale online is because she wants to kind of use it as a form of like immersion therapy, that if she can just play this game and just immerse herself in guns so much that she just sees them as like everyday objects, nothing to really fear, that she can get past her issues. And I believe it is an actual form of therapy that is used on some things. I don't know a massive amount about it, but It's just I like how it's used here, and it's just interesting the way that then the way she sees it, and that she's been playing this game for a while. She seems to be a bit of an expert at Gun Gale Online, one of the higher up players, but she still has the fear of guns in real life, and she sees the only way to get rid of this as her winning the next Bullet of Bullet tournaments. And as she says, she kind of misspeaks a little bit and says, like, once I kill them all, once I defeat everyone in the tournament. So you can see what's driving her here. She thinks that if she just proves herself to be the best player in the game, her fear of guns will just go away, and you could sort of see why she would kind of buy into that. But that's not really going to work, as we see. As we bring in Kirito's issue that he's going to kind of deal with over the course of this arc, and as we explore Asada more, you really see what's kind of going to come out here. And I just think it's a really fascinating character arc they're dealing with here. This idea that this young girl, I think at this point she's like 16, has killed someone, and a lot of people know about the incident. The bullies seem to know about that she's afraid of guns. Maybe they don't know the reason for that, the whole backstory that we get, but everyone's aware of that and are kind of using it against her. It's something that actually does affect her very much in real life, and it was a very kind of shocking, violent backstory, but it worked. It was, you instantly invest yourself in this character and want to see her kind of get past what she's going through. You can sort of see that Kirito is probably going to help her when he does meet up with her, but you don't know the full nature just yet of what exactly is going to happen. And especially when you get like the final scene and we cut to Death Gun and he's hearing how no one's taking him seriously, really. It's not really, it doesn't seem like it's being taken all that seriously. Three players are just joking about, hey, we can prove that this isn't really an issue, and just call Death Gun out, kill me and I'll be in a public cafe and stuff like that. And he gets really angry, but his next target is Sinon, apparently. And it's definitely an interesting scene to look back on, having seen the rest of the episodes. But it's going to be interesting to see how that develops. Here you can see it's not just that, like, oh, straight away he wants to take her out. In this case, knowing who Death Gun actually is and the whole issue there, it is more of this fascination with her that he is basically in love with her kind of obsessively, and is kind of just looking at her picture in that way. And it's really only when obviously she rejects his advances that it really turns into, okay, I'm going to have to take her out too because she's kind of figured me out. But just really good episode to just focus primarily on just the backstory of our kind of main female character for this arc. The only thing we really got with Kirito was that, okay, he tells Asuna what he's doing, and she has her kind of shocked reaction. It's nothing too crazy. It's just like, but wait, how does this affect your progress in ALO if you're just going to switch for a few days? And when he reveals that it was Kikuoka, she understands that he's doing it for the government to kind of pay him back for everything he's done to help all the SAO players, and it won't take that long. It's nothing too serious. He doesn't tell her the full details that, like, there's this guy who's apparently killing people, but just that, look, I'm going to be gone from ALO for a while, but I will be back. And yeah, then we just kind of cut to him basically going to the hospital. I really like this idea that he isn't just diving into the game from home. Because this is an official government kind of mission, he is full on being monitored as he dives in a hospital in case anything goes wrong. And he's kind of being monitored 24/7 by the nurse who looked after him while he was recovering from the SAO incident. So even though we didn't meet her back then, it was interesting that he does know this nurse. Her name is Aki, very touchy-feely, kind of flirtatious with Kirito, and he's obviously very uncomfortable with this. But again, another character who I was just kind of like initially thinking that they're not going to do anything with her, she's just going to be there to be the nurse. But surprisingly, she has probably one of the most emotional moments in the entire show when she talks to Kirito in a couple of episodes' time. So it's going to be really interesting to talk about that. But yeah, we just end the episode with him diving into the game. We don't actually get to see him in Gun Gale Online or him reacting to that world at all. That will come, of course. So again, it continues the trend of so far in this season. Not a massive amount of scenes. Only really, again, probably 4 or 5 scenes in the entire episode. With obviously the flashback, the kind of panic attack scene for Asuda being the one main scene, but also a few more. So it's just really interesting the way they're doing that, and that they're not jumping straight into the game like they did with ALO. We still haven't really seen Kirito and ALO yet, and we're 2 episodes in, and we're introducing Asuda on her own first before she meets Kirito, and giving a lot of time to her, not focusing a massive amount on Kirito just yet. Obviously, we still haven't got his kind of character arc dealing with the people he killed in SAO, but that will come into play, which is really interesting how they tie everything together. But, really good episode. Nothing else really to say about it. Far and away the best episode of the season so far, and definitely the episode that kind of hooked me on SAO II was this one. That backstory, I think, is just really well done. And the use of a good backstory is also something they do really well in the Mother Rosario arc with Yuki. I think that's another one that you really connect with the character just from hearing about her past. And you get the same thing with Sinon here. But that's been a review. Comments, let me know what your thoughts are on the episode and my review. Thanks for watching the review, and bye.